Hey everybody, how are we doing? How are we doing? Excellent. This is going to be an interactive presentation, so the first thing that we're all going to do, and you're going to hate me, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you're in the back, you're going to stand up, and I'm going to ask everybody to come in and fill in the first couple of rows. So if you're in the back, yep, I'm talking to you, go ahead. Yep, you guys there in the back row, stand up, come down close, we're going to get a little closer here, come on. This is Ted. My goodness, you think I was asking you to, geez. All right. That's it. Come on down. That's right. Good. Fill in the spaces. I want you in the center. Don't try to go to the wings. Come here to the center. How's Saturday going? Ah, that's good. We're getting better. You're going to learn fast. Excellent. What a delightfully nerdy way to spend a Saturday before Easter. The presentations have been quite good so far. Good. Get yourself settled. Excellent. My name is Ian Rosenberger. I'm the founder and CEO of Thread and also the founder and CEO of Team Tassy. Just like the introduction said, I believe that poverty is a disease and that ending it is possible by the time we all have grandchildren. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today, I think the title of my talk, my presentation, is how to avoid a quarter-life crisis and what Abraham Lincoln taught me about how not to suck before I'm 60. Is that about right? Did I get it right in there? Yeah, cool. Is anybody curious as to what we're going to talk about? All right, cool. Good, me too. So to start out, show of hands, agree. Raise your hand if you agree. All babies are cool. All babies are cool, all right? Wow, who didn't raise their hand? That's terrifying. How about this? All teenagers are cool. Raise your hands. Agree. All right. All adults are cool. Raise your hand. My dad raised his hand naturally. All adults. But it's crazy, right? What happens to us? Right? What happens from the time that we're a baby, just crawling around, where, the whole world is in front of us, until we're an adult? Shout out, what did you want to be when you grow up?
Astronaut.
Movie star, astronaut. I wanted to be an astronaut too, and then I realized that people a million feet tall are not allowed into space. You want to be a director. What else did you want to be? A good person. Ah, excellent. Good. Round of applause for him. Good person. That's right. I have a theory that somewhere along the line, we start to suck. The world tries to take all the really interesting stuff that happens to us from the time that we're a baby up until the time we're about a teenager. And that's me as a kid. Look how cool, speaking of cool, right? Look at that. Pretty good. That's an elastic pair of shorts with an elastic belt, buckled by a Super Mario Brothers buckle, just to be clear. That's unavailable in stores these days. That's the cat. And by the way, I come by it honestly, for sure. The guy in the background's my dad. Somewhere along the line, we lose the sparkle that we have as kids. I just heard when you said what you wanted to be when you grew up, I heard movie star, I heard director, I heard astronaut. Yell out what we are now, what we do for a living now. Accountant, school, right, good, excellent. Okay, good, you guys are getting it, excellent. So, and what happens is nothing serious, it's just that life gets in the way, right? We start to make decisions based not on what we want to do, but on what we need to do. We realize, like this week, I'm sure many of us are realizing, that tax day comes around once a year, right? We have to pay the man. We have to start doing the things that our parents told us we needed to do in order to be responsible adults. Mine sure did, and now I'm a garbage man in a third world country. They're so proud. So as I started to think about this idea of what happens to us from the time that we're really incredible little kids to the time when sometimes we don't necessarily become the adults we thought we would, I realized that there are a couple of things that we can do if we pay mind to make sure that we live lives that are extraordinary. And as I really got to think about this, I realized that those three things are very much like a car. And the reason for me that they're like a car is because in the work that I do in Haiti and in Honduras, a lot of the people that we place into jobs, It's a high-paying job in a place that doesn't have a lot of them. It's steady work, and you're your own boss. The same reason that Uber is so popular here in the United States. So when I think of a car, I don't just see a car anymore. I see these three things that I think are really important that we all have in order to become the people that I think we can be. So rather than telling you those three things, I'm going to ask you what they are. So when we think about a vehicle, there are, in my opinion, three very crucial things that makes that vehicle go from being a hump of steel or metal or aluminum and turning it into an actual moving car. So the first thing that comes to mind when you think of what a car needs in order to go, what comes to mind for you? Okay, not all at once. Not all at once. Who said engine? Oh, you're in the front row, so I'm going to give you a Snickers bar. They satisfy. Be careful. There we go. Good. Engine. Oh, you just took that. Is that your son?
No, I said it.
Oh, I said it. All right. Yeah, you need an engine. That's right. When we think about an engine for a car, try to translate that into life. What are we talking about? What's the engine that makes our lives go?
Power.
Food. Okay, yeah, food's good. That's right. Yeah, motivation. Oh, we'll get to all that stuff. Really what I'm talking about when I talk about an engine is things like communication. Right? These are things that are necessary, the nuts and bolts of life, right? Understanding the resources of the group around you, knowing the needs and characteristics of the people that you're around. And to demonstrate that, I need a couple of volunteers. I need 8 volunteers. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on up here. 5. Up here in the first row. 6. Good. Come on up. Good, good, good. I need 2 more. 7, 8. Come on up quickly. We don't have too much time. All right, here's what we're going to do. Here are the rules. What I want you to do is, oh, good, you're all spread out all over the place. Come up here on the red dot. I want you in 2 rows facing one another, 4 and 4. 2 rows face, let's see how you do. There we go. You're close. Not a circle. But it's a red dot, I understand. That's good. 2 rows facing one another. There we go. Excellent. Good, good. I want you now to shift down, shimmy down closer to the end of the stage. Good. Can everybody see them? Excellent. All right. Here's rule 1. Maybe. Rule 1. I want your fingers out and straight. Good. Okay. Facing up. Fingers there. Single fingers. Put 1 finger out and straight. Good. Now I want each of the 2 rows to kind of march towards each other. Get close so that your fingers, there you go, just like that. Good. All right. Now, don't go point to point. Like kind of get them all intertwined. So here like this, just like this. You got it? All right. Cool. All right, rule number 2, always touching the broomstick. That's rule number 2, all right? Rule number 3, no talking, all right? Fingers out and straight, always touching the broomstick, no talking, all right? You want to know what your goal is? It's pretty simple. Your goal is to drop the broomstick to the floor, all right? So everybody get closer. Good, excellent, come on, get closer. Good. No, don't curl your fingers, fingers out and straight, all right? No talking, always touching the broomstick. Lower the broomstick to the floor. Oh, wow, you guys are great at this. It's going well. That's going excellent. Excellent. Shadyside Academy education, give it to them. Let's try it one more time. Give you one more chance. Ready? Fingers touching the broomstick, take it all the way to the ground. No talking. Always touching the broomstick, don't curl. I'm watching you curl. Good. Touch the broomstick, no talking. Always touching the broomstick. It's hard, isn't it? Such a simple thing. Oh, I walked away and you guys got bad again. You're almost there. While they're doing that, what's happening here? Yeah, they're working together, right? I took away one of the most valuable things that we need in order to be functioning human adults. I took away the ability to communicate. And something as simple as dropping a broomstick to the floor becomes an inhumane task. Extraordinary, right? They're still working on it. These are all these are like reasonably intelligent humans. They'll get there eventually. We'll come back to them in a second. But that's the point. Right? When I talk about the first important thing that we all need, we need that engine that makes things go. And if we don't have the nuts and bolts of life, life becomes much more difficult. Right? That's step 1. Make sense? Good. I'm going to move on while they're still working on that. Step 2. When we think about a car and what we need to go, now we have the engine. We're assuming we got the wheels. We're assuming we got the body, right? Somebody said it before, but I think it's really important and worth talking about. What's the second thing that you need? Gas. Who said gas or fuel? There's 2 Snickers bars here. I've got more than one. Who was it? All right. I'm not going to throw it at you. Oh, they did it. Give them a round of applause. Can you hand that back to her? Good job, guys. Oh, don't hurt yourself. Oh, geez, you're like barbarians. You need gas. When you think about what gas is and when we apply it to our lives, remember that the engine of things like communication, knowing the resources of your group, the nuts and bolts of how we function day to day. When we think about the second thing that we need, we think about gas or fuel. What does that mean to you? Yeah. And energy. No, let's get a little bit more existential. We're at TED, remember? Yeah. Yeah, passion. We're going to get there. We're going to get to all that. When I think of fuel, I think of the people that we have in our lives that help us go, right? These are the coaches that exist for us. And when you think about that person in your mind, everybody's mind goes to a single person. I'm sure all of you thought about somebody, whether it was a teacher, a football coach, whether it was a person in your family, your parents. There's good fuel and there's bad fuel, right? And we know that if we put good fuel into the engine, that makes it go. And I'm telling you, for those of you, this is TEDxYouth, for those of you that are getting ready to embark on this next chapter of your lives, whether that's high school or college, this is really hard to do, right, adults? Am I right? Oh, yeah. It's really hard to surround yourself with really good fuel. And if you don't, I can promise you that you will be the person that you spend you'll be the person that you spend the time with, the 5 most people in your life. I messed that up entirely. You're going to be the person that the 5 people you spend the most time with are in your life. Did that make sense? Did I get it right? All right, good. So you have to think about when we're talking about the second important thing that you need to lead an extraordinary life. 1 being the nuts and bolts. Got to take care of your business. 2 being the fuel. Who are you surrounding yourself with? This is my wife. She's the one on the sunglasses, and you can see that she's a pretty excellent source of fuel for me. These are the people I work with in Haiti. Whenever I get ready to go onto a stage and talk to people about TED, or when I get up to go to work in the morning, these are people that come into my mind. The guy in front of the car, Mark Noel, who I talked about at the last TED event, he's the guy that comes in my mind. These are people that are fuel for me. They remind me that life has purpose. If you don't have these people, these are my parents. That's my mom clapping. Yeah. You always bring your parents along to make sure the applause line keeps going when you're giving a talk. Right? I can't stress enough to those of you who are just starting out and to those of you who maybe haven't decided to surround yourself with people, keep the good fuel and get the hell rid of the bad stuff. Right? It has no place in your life, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a relative, whether that's get rid of the bad stuff and surround yourself with people who challenge you, who make you better, who want to see you succeed. I promise you there's a lot of them out there. And like I said, if you're thinking right now, there's probably somebody in your mind. And if it's not a very good person, change it. Find somebody who is. So when we think about, sometimes there's other things that can be fuel in your life too. Like your dog. This is my dog, Buster. Isn't this an artistic photo? Yeah, I know. This is my iPhone. I call it dog on table. He looks extraordinarily sad, doesn't he? He looks sad all the time.
What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? That's a great question. We're going to leave that for the next TED Talk. All right, so we talked about the two of the important things, the nuts and bolts, the engine. We talked about filling it with fuel. But it's not a car if it actually doesn't have this. Yeah, you're the driver. Good talk, but no, that's not it. No? Air conditioning. So the car's not going to go without this. No? Well, yeah, that's all true. Somebody said it earlier, I think. There's a thing in most cars these days. Now that things are getting electric, it's less. Not a GPS. No, when you fill it full of fuel, ignition. Who said, Snickers bar is coming to you? Good. You need a spark. You need a spark. You can have fuel, you can have an engine, right? But if you don't have a spark, none of it goes. It's just a heap of junk. There's a couple people in the world throughout history who've sorted out how to do this really, really well, right? You look at them, guys like this guy. Who's this guy? Right, good, excellent. Guys like this guy, and they say things, and you wonder where it comes from. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone, all over this broad land, will yet swell the course of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be by the better angels of our nature. This guy's not different from you. That's the point, right? This guy isn't special. He decided to add not just the nuts and bolts that he needed to his life, not just the fuel, but the spark. When we talk about the spark, what are we talking about? Snickers. Yes. Passion. Inspiration. Somebody said motivation. Yeah, heart. Yeah, your reason, your essence. These are the things when we look back in history and we identify those people who become heroes to us, the ones that we look to for direction and inspiration themselves. These are the people who figured out how to hold on to that spark. And they do it by doing all the other things well. Who's this one? Maya Angelou. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. This guy? Nelson Mandela. I'll let you read this one to yourself. Remember that he did all this after spending 28 years in that room. And every day he'd read a poem to himself that said one thing: I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. He memorized it and he'd say it to other prisoners every day. 28 years in prison, comes out of jail, becomes the president of South Africa, and ends apartheid. Jim Crow segregation existed in this world until 1991, 1992. Right? How do we get a little of that? What do all those people have in common? Yeah, there's struggle, right? There's struggle. They were unified under struggle. And actually, I don't necessarily think it's as much struggle as it is purpose. Right? We all struggle. All of us struggle. Those who are adults know how hard it is to pay the bills every day. And even if you're able to pay the bills every day, you know how many things come up from day to day that make life difficult. We've all got struggle. What we lack sometimes in our lives, and the thing that we throw away as we get older because we do the things we have to do, not because we do the things we think we should do, is purpose. We don't seek purpose. And as we get older, if we're not looking for that purpose, it stops looking for us. And sooner or later, we're 35, 40, 45, 50 years old, wondering what our lives are about. That's a midlife crisis. Some of us have one when we're 25, like me. I had one then and was like, oh my gosh, what's my life about? What's it going to be about? So why does any of this matter to us? I'm here to tell you from firsthand experience that if you can find a way to instill purpose in your lives, your life, while very difficult, will be both immensely gratifying and extraordinarily adventurous. If somebody came along and offered that to you as a kid, would you take it? Of course, of course. Like, taking that road less traveled does pay off. Especially for those of you who are 15, 16, 17 years old and getting ready to go to college and trying to figure out what the hell you want to do with your lives. First of all, you don't need to know, not yet. Just keep working hard and try to find some of this stuff. The bottom line is you're all special. I couldn't do a Pittsburgh talk without talking about Mr. Rogers, But he's right, and that's why we love him so much. Because he reminds us that all of us have within ourselves the ability to be extraordinary. All of us have within ourselves the ability to be a Mandela or an Angelou. This is why it matters. By 2050, the ocean will be more plastic by weight than fish. I didn't make that stat up. That's a real deal. Isn't that crazy? 9.7 billion people by 2050. That's about 2 billion more than we have right now on the planet. We're on our way, by the way, 2100, by the time the youngest of you will be passing away, to having about 11 billion people on planet Earth. There's going to be a lot more people with a lot more poor, and 5 billion of them will be facing an entirely new climate. 5 billion will be facing areas of the world that for the first time will be completely uninhabitable outside of Antarctica. This is why we need you. This is why I'm standing here. Not because I think that you should all have extraordinary lives, although I do, but because you're really all that we have. I mean it. There's not other people out there waiting to solve the problems of the world. We're waiting for you. So when you think about what it is you want to do with your lives, like what makes sense to you, remember as you're deciding whether or not you need to do the thing that everybody tells you you're supposed to do, or do the thing that really burns inside of you, where the choices go. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Be the man or the woman in the arena. When you do, make sure you bring your jams. Thanks very much.